One of the most perpetuated misconceptions about Novak Djokovic is that he is a defensive player. In today's video, we are going to review an article by Simon Briggs that debunks that myth. The article covers data gathered over the last 12 months, which proves that Djokovic is arguably the best attacking player on the tour. Before we begin, there is nothing wrong with being a defensive player. It's just a style of play like any other. But as always, when they try to label Novak as defensive, they do it with negative connotations. You see, Federer and Nadal are the exciting ones, the beautiful ones. Watching them is a borderline orgasmic experience. And Novak, he's defensive, just a backboard, a boring pusher. You might as well watch paint dry instead of one of his matches. Simon Briggs' article dispels this tired misconception. The article states, quote, "Recent data gathered by TDI and TennisWiz suggests that the perception of Djokovic as the ultimate defender is misleading. Over the past 52 weeks, he stands only fourth on their chart of steals, a metric which calculates the percentage of points won by a player after being on defense during the rally. The three players who outscore Novak in steals percentage are Medvedev, de Minaur, and Alcaraz. In other words, over the last year, Djokovic is still an elite defender, but there are three other players who win more points from defensive positions." Now here comes the best part. Quote, "So how does Djokovic remain the preeminent performer on the tour? The answer is that he outscores all of these players and everyone else in the opposite metric, conversions. How many times you drive home an attacking position and thus win the point. He posts a tour best 73.6% over the past year. There is daylight before you reach Stefanos Tsitsipas and Francisco Cerundolo in second place, both with 71.9%, and Alcaraz with 71.1%. Simply put, Djokovic is the most efficient attacking player on the tour. And there's more. According to TennisWiz's data, Djokovic's assertiveness is at its most pronounced on the +1 shot, the first ground stroke the server hits in a rally. Any other player would normally enjoy a very small advantage from the +1 shot, going on to win only 51.5% of points. But when Djokovic is hitting the third shot of a rally, he wins a mind-boggling 67.9% of points from this situation. His first ground stroke, usually a forehand, is almost always driven deep and powerfully into one of the corners. So not only is Novak the most efficient at converting points from an attacking position, but he is also the best at attacking the opponent's return." Briggs then continues, quote, "This might give us a clue as to why Djokovic has traditionally had more difficulty winning clay court events than grass court ones. On a clay court, the slow bounce means that an agile player has more chance of defusing this first Djokovic attack. Grass, however, is all about the first strike. It is very difficult to defend at Wimbledon because of the way the ball skids on after the bounce. This is the hardest Grand Slam to complete steals at, whereas the French Open is the easiest." End quote. And that, my friends, is the truth. Contrary to the widespread misinformation, Djokovic is an attacker, an aggressive player. That's why his two most successful slams are the ones with the fastest surfaces, Australia and Wimbledon. That's why he has the most ATP Finals titles along Federer. Just because he is also a great defender doesn't mean that he is defensive. Federer fans have cried a river of tears over slowing down of courts that supposedly gave Djokovic an advantage. First of all, there is no evidence that courts have slowed down, as I already covered on this channel. And secondly, anybody who understands tennis knows that Novak thrives on fast surfaces as much as Roger. If you wanna call somebody defensive, how about the guy who hasn't won Wimbledon since 2010, who needed Djokovic to be deported to win his first Australian title in 13 years, and has never won ATP Finals? The most boring grinder in the history of the sport. The prevalent belief among casuals that Djokovic is boring and Nadal exciting is a testament to the power of propaganda. Anyway, before we go, Briggs' article also points out something that I said in a previous video, that in Australian Open, because of his hamstring injury, Novak played with even more aggression and power than usual. This is contrary to the widespread speculation in the media that Novak, for some inexplicable reason, faked the injury. The moral of the story is, don't believe everything you hear, especially negative stories about Novak. Chances are they're not true. Form your own opinions, instead of adopting someone else's. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.